Making a list of cast.
Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Sarah MacArthur. I'm the chair of the Democratic Party of Chaves County, and I'm here with Letitia Montoya. Hi, Letitia.
Hi, how are
We're going to
you?
do it. Good, thank you. We're going to do an interview today. She's running to be the chair of the Democratic Party of New Mexico for the next cycle of 2025 to 2027. So I'm asking her questions the same that I asked all the other people that I've interviewed already. And it's her turn to shine. So we're going to get right down to it. First of all, we're delighted that you're here. So thank you for coming on to the podcast. And I would love if you could tell us about your history with the Democratic Party and what got you interested in politics and informed your decision to become involved.
Well, I was born a Democrat, so my dad was really active in the party growing up, and so started as a little kid going with him to different events, helping him door to door. You know how kids are; they want
Yeah,
to help
sure.
out with everything.
Hmm.
So I was like his little tag along. So wherever he went, I went. And so when it was time to register to be a Democrat, to go actually vote, I registered right away as a Democrat. So I've been a Democrat since birth.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
now I'm still a Democrat. Like I tell everybody, I will die a Democrat. So nothing will ever change my mind to ever change to a different party.
Yeah,
This is my party.
I was really surprised
Simple.
so many Democrats voted for Trump this time around. I was kind of really, I was a little confused by that, but I am not a lifelong Democrat. I was a registered Republican, but I voted Democrat. But I lived with my parents and they were Republican. Anyway,
You do what your parents do.
a
They're
lot
the
of
teachers too.
times,
They teach you. Yeah. Yeah.
well, and then I remember distinctly when I changed. It was 1993, and they had just I read this article. It was in the New York Times Magazine. My parents always got the Times on Sundays, and they have the magazine section. And I was reading an article, and it talked about how they had just outed Valerie Flame as a CIA agent, and her husband was over in the Middle East. And I was like, Dad, look at this. They just did that. And he said, No, 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 they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that to a CIA agent. And sure enough, they did. And it was, was it Scooter Libby or no, that's not right. It was Dick Cheney and the guy that passed away. He was Department of Defense. He lived in Santa Fe, Rumsfeld. They did that to her.
Oh,
Which was,
yes. Yes.
hmm And I said to my dad, I said,
Oh,
I can't be in a party that jeopardizes the national security of the agents that we hire to, and I switched my registration then. So anyway, all right.
I'm glad
Um,
you did.
yeah, that was a long
I'm
time
glad
ago.
you did.
So
Now you're part of us.
yeah, right. And so, did you get to did you get an opportunity to go to the Democratic National Convention? And what were some of the highlights that you experienced if you did?
Yes, I did. And actually, I've gone to two others that I got elected as a national delegate. And my first one was in Chicago. So I got to go back to Chicago and I went with my husband. And it was just, it was so dynamic. And I think the main speaker was Kamala. And when she came out, she made me so proud to be a Democrat because everything that she wanted to do, she had this beautiful plan, but we're not able to implement it. But we still can. I tell everybody, we got to follow her lead and we got to go forward and not backwards. And I always remember that speech because it just hit me right at my heart and made me understand that she knows what's going on in the world and she was going to make a positive change. So that was the best part of the whole entire convention was when she talked. It just was
Well,
just
I'm
it was
curious.
just
Okay, go
day.
ahead. Sorry.
Night.
Oh,
No, go ahead.
okay. I'm just curious. I mean, I felt like her message was great, and I watched her from here, from home, and the rest of the convention, and I just thought there was so much energy and positiveness. And I was thinking, oh, for sure she'll get elected. So much positivity and all these big, huge, massive Zoom calls and all this stuff. And then I'm just like flabbergasted that she didn't get elected. And I don't know if do you have an opinion as to what happened to cause her message not to get out so well or
Man, the man. the men were targeted to understand that bringing out all the why not to have a woman. There's a broadcaster, and we were talking about that last night, is that he put out a message and he just made, if you look at it, it didn't matter what culture, what your background was, the men are the ones that voted in Donald Trump. And the areas that we thought we were going to take, it's because they got more of the men to come out, and then the younger people, they didn't show up like the way they should have, like when Obama was
Iraq.
president.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he rocked it, and he brought all the younger people. This time it was a different kind of like messaging that they
Well,
put
I
out.
feel like the messaging was really, and this is why I'm doing this podcast, is because I want Democratic messaging to be larger. Now, I know my numbers are
Exactly.
pretty teeny tiny and stuff, but if I can sway one person to go and do something and be more positive, then that's great. My feeling was that there was a messaging problem in the regular news media. They didn't cover them the same way. They covered them in vastly different. They had all these requirements for Kamala and none for Donald Trump. None. I mean, we've never ever had him answer a policy question in all the years we've been watching him. And when you ask him a hard question, he acts like a fool, and says stupid stuff. And I just felt like, I think she did a fabulous job for somebody that only had 107 days. So,
Exactly. And
yeah,
I think our biggest mistake is that we should have, because Biden said he was only going to do one term. So at that point, that's when he should have backed out and allowed a primary to come forth. We would have saw a different outcome,
you'd have had more
because
time. Yeah.
exactly, yes. Then
hmm
if she did win as a primary candidate, then we had time to really build it up, But when you're only given so many months in order to change stuff, because if you think about it, all the signs or all the material was all about Biden and her. So trying to redo that in like 90 days, it's really tough. And so I give her a lot of credit on how she did it, and how we came together, and how we did. I mean, we did good. I mean, I can say that for 3 months of working, we did good. And I really thought we were going to win. I really
I
did in
did
my
too.
heart, because
I did too. And I
all
think
that
you're
I
right that
saw in,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. My apologies.
oh, no, no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I agree with you that the men did a serious thing to undermine that, but I think that it's a lot of that was podcasting too, because people don't even watch the regular news media anymore, and so those
Exactly.
podcasters have done a huge disservice to all of us, But the young people in particular, you know, I watched something the other day that said the young people are feeling, and we're talking Gen Z and under millennial age, there's nothing for them to look forward to. And they don't perceive, or they didn't understand, they didn't listen to Kamala about what she was going to try and do. And frankly, I feel like the Democrats need to promote better and talk about what they will do to solve these problems. And they're not doing it. And they're not
Exactly.
getting that message out that yes, we're going to end Citizens United. We're going to take back, we're going to start taxing the very, very ultra rich like they should be taxed and are taxed in every other nation. And, young people, they're like, well, this isn't working and they're not doing anything for us. And we own student loans for the rest of our lives. We can't buy a house, our cars we can't buy, we can't get an apartment. We have to live with 4 or 5 people to be able to pay for one small apartment.
Yes.
So their answer is, well, let's try something different. That's what I think
It,
happened to a lot of the young people. So, all right, I'm
mhm.
going to move on.
Okay.
You are running to become the chair of the Democratic Party of New Mexico. Thanks for stepping up and declaring for that already. Can you tell us what's motivated you to take on this role?
Well, this past election, and I know that some candidates are talking about like, oh, like different aspects of each county. So each county is so unique. And like for me in CD3, as CD3 vice chair, is that in order to go into a county and people don't know, you have to build the base. And I'll tell you right now, there's a couple of counties that I've not been able to go in yet to because they haven't invited me in, but that's okay because I look at their numbers, they did good. But then I have one county that is like the smallest, uh, has the smallest population in it, and that's Harding County.
Mm-hmm.
And it pretty much it's really at one time we did have somebody there in Harding County as a Democrat. But what I'm seeing in these outer counties, just from my area has a lot of Republicans, is that there's a lot of the mega Republicans in there, and a lot of the Democrats are afraid to even declare that they are a Democrat because a lot of times you have to work amongst people. You have contracts with your city or your county. And if you're a Democrat, your possibility if you're promoting that, you could have a fall that they're gonna throw your application to the side. And you don't think that could happen, but it could. But the thing too is that we need to go in and rebuild those counties, and we need to give them the resources that they need. And also, when an issue comes up, a problem of something that happens in a county, which one happened in my county, not San Juan County, and I knew about the problem a month later after I got elected, and no one fixed the problem. And as I say, as I kept on finding out, what
What do
are they
you
going to
mean?
do like
Like,
mitigation?
oh, you mean like the state party people didn't fix it? Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Or
the state party, it got to the point that the state party didn't interact at the very beginning. And I think they thought that maybe it could work itself out. But then when you have more happening in there, when you have police involved, you have going to court, that means you're causing a commotion in that county. So thank God the media didn't find out about it, but it was solved. But that county, those two groups are never going to be friends again because we didn't solve the problem at the very beginning. And now it's like, now we have two groups up there. So how are we going to
I'm going to
bring them
ask you a
together
question. Do
again?
you think it was
Yeah.
possible to solve that? How would that
Yes.
have been possible? If
I well, you know
yeah.
what? I have my every monthly conversation. And so they got involved and we talked. Remember, I brought in mediation, somebody that he wrote a book, he talked about it. He says this is how you handle it. They wanted to do that, but when I reached out to the state party, the higher ups, it was just thrown underneath the rug, which we should have solved that problem then when it was fresh. When it comes to 2 years later, almost a year and a half later, we're trying to solve the problem. We're trying to throw everybody underneath the bus. That, you know what? The problem stems from leadership. You're as good as what your leader presents. So that's telling you that they couldn't even fix a basic problem. And then I found out about another problem, which really concerns me, is that, and it happened in my county. And that's the thing is, I don't hear from I'll tell you right now, I've not heard from Jessica. I hear from Manny. I don't hear from the secretary or the treasurer because there's not that communication. I'm like, and they talk about orphan counties. I'm an orphan vice chair. But the thing is that when I hear about something that's happening in my county, and I heard from Tatum because I called him and I talked to him about stuff that
Who's
was
Tatum? Is
done
Tatum a
mismanagement. Yeah,
person?
Tatum. Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know
Tate.
who that.
Tate,
Tate.
sorry,
Oh,
Tate,
Tate.
Tate, right, the Tate,
Sorry.
yeah, Tate.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, when I
I
talked
was
to
like,
Tate,
who's
he
Tatum?
explained to me, oh, sorry, Tate. I have dyslexia, so every time I like add on or subtract things, so it's like that's just how I think.
Okay.
But
Got it. Got it.
Tate,
Okay. So
he explained to me what happened, and I was very disturbed. And I won't say what happened, but it was something really bad, and it
I happen to
happened.
know what happened, and I also voted on it, and so I think the appropriate thing happened. But
Okay.
when the police are involved, I mean, would it have been appropriate for the state party chair to have expressed some of that? Do you think that the legality or,
Yes.
I think they have to take the advice of the council that they hire because if you're going to be the chair, you're going to have people that are giving you the legal guidance about what you can and can't say and do
Yeah.
regarding the
And
counties.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
as a chair here
Yeah.
down in a very red county and stuff, I can tell you that um, I find that this is my opinion only my opinion, that what was happening was very undemocratic. and was it was a waste of time, and it didn't
Yeah.
complete the mission, and it didn't, and
Yes.
it took away time from the people at the state level to be able to
Yes.
run the party and do the mission, which I'm going to get to. And I'm going to ask you what
Oh,
is the mission of the chair? What is the role and the mandate for the organization that we have? And how did, and because you're not the only county that had a problem, there was a county down south that had a problem too. And
Portero. Yeah.
yeah.
But that was a
It,
different kind of problem. This one was,
mhm.
yeah, there were two, they were
They
problems,
are,
but there
but
were
they
two
both
different
took away
components. Yeah.
time and effort and caused some drastic. I mean, on the plus side, now the state party has written um, in their rules more firm processes to take care of things of that nature in a faster fashion. So, from that
Yeah.
standpoint, it won't take that long. But when you're starting from scratch and you don't have that process, and I know that because of Otero County, sure, that you don't know how to start the investigation, you don't know where it's going, you don't know what the process is and who you hire and to have the hearings and all those. None of that was written down because nobody's ever really had those problems before, if that
Well,
makes sense.
if you're a true leader and you've run a corporation or you've been involved in a higher board, that you solve the problem right away. Because if you can't solve the problem right away, then that's when they relinquish you as a board chair and they bring in somebody else. So you have to know that you have to have the know-how. You have to know what you're going to do. You have to have a plan. You have to have a really good executive director that's going to be following your guidance, because the board oversees the administrative stuff. And so it should have been tapped in right away. I hate to tell you that, because for me owning a company, if I wouldn't do that, I would not have a company. But you have to solve the problem as it starts, because as you let it to start festering, and it just gets worse and worse and worse, and then it turns into like who's at fault, and what is the real truth about it? Because you know how people change. It's like the kid telling the next person a story, and before it gets to the end, the story is so out of proportion that that's why I say is that if we could have solved this problem at the very beginning when it happened 2 years ago, it'll be two
I'm
years
just
coming up
curious as to
now.
why you think they didn't actually step in and say, this is what you need to do.
I don't know.
They
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 didn't,
did
I
do
don't know.
that.
I can't tell
They
you.
they
No,
did. They did step in and say, "Hey, you can't do that. This
yeah,
is what you have to do." And did that person
yeah,
respond?
but
Well, no, they didn't. And then he created
well, you got to
more
remember
problems.
there's
Right.
there's two
There's
stories to
just
each problem. So
right.
I'm telling you right now, the problem is our state party. Our party did not step in, because I saw that and I addressed it, but no one said nothing. So that, I'm like right stuck in the middle where how do I tell my Democratic chair what the party is doing besides nothing? And I saw that. And so I'm sorry, I cannot protect my party, hire people, because I know what they did, and so that's why I'm running, because I understand the problem. If we don't start uniting our party now, we're not going to have a party, because right now I go to some meetings, I see 5 people there. I was so proud to go to Valencia County, and I saw like a total of 40 people. They're very diverse. But the thing about it is that when we talked, we got into a round discussion, and we hatched out what is, because they asked me, they're like, if you're going to be the chair, what is the messaging? I said the messaging is always a continuing messaging, because there's going to be something every single minute of the day that's going to come out that'll affect us. And if we don't take an initiative to have a message for it, then who do we blame? Ourselves. So we really need to really think about who we're going to elect as our next chair and our executive committee members, because I'm going to tell you right now, I saw it, a lot of people saw it, is that we need to get qualified people in those positions. And it's just a fact.
And
You
are
know,
you
I see a
suggesting
lot
that
of
the
times
people
that
that are
people
there
in
now
places,
are not qualified? Is that what you're saying? Is you don't think they're
I think they're
qualified?
qualified, but I think they're qualified, but the thing
Uh-huh.
that I'm saying right to everybody is that what I'm seeing going on with our state, we almost
Hmm.
lost our state. We're purple now. And that's just a fact. And we got to understand that we have
Okay,
to
I
go
don't.
in and we have to analyze each of the counties to see what is going on with each county. Okay, so I know that Cam talked about Guadalupe County, and I looked at the numbers. Guadalupe County is very Democratic. So what's going on there? And why don't we have a chair? Well, maybe because they're mad at us. I don't know. It's we have to go in there. We're going to have to go in there and
I
talk
think
to
Chavez
people.
County did
Go,
pretty well considering. I mean, they had over 6,000 votes for
yeah, you
Martin
guys did good.
Heinrich.
I mean, I'm not saying no one didn't do good. I
Right.
mean, we did
But
good.
I
We and
I don't know what the definition of a purple state is. Do you know? Can you define that for people? Because I'm not sure what makes you purple. I know we lost votes, but we still won by percent. We didn't
it's
win by the
because
percentages that we did, right? So what?
so this is it. Okay, here's blue, here's red. So
Mhm,
here's okay, our state has always been blue, as long as I known since I was a little kid.
mhm.
So the Republican Party was down here. So as years come, things happen. So people get mad, and so people jump out as Democrats, turn into Republican, independent, move up. Same thing next year. And I was looking at the track of Valencia County to see when Valencia County started turning red. So the last time that Valencia County was blue was in 2008 was Obama. And I looked to see the next year, and I just did it as kind of trying to find out what changed in one county. So as I saw the next 4 years, there was something that happened, and it was Obamacare, so it got people in that county mad, I guess. That's the only thing that I could think of. So we started going in Chavez in Virginia, Valencia County. So there they started going more, so they were making their way up until they passed us. So now they're ahead of us. So the thing is like, what are those people? What's going on in that county? And we talked about it that night, which is 2 nights ago when I didn't go to the legislative dinner because for me to go to a county is more important than to go to a dinner. It's better to go talk to people. So when I went there, we were talking about it, and so we need to figure out why are people leaving our party? Why? What are we doing that they want to go to either independent or to Republican? So we need to start analyzing and looking and asking people, and it's just like anything in it, like it's like anything, like people say, well, how do you fix welfare? Well, you need to go to the people and talk to them and see how you can get them to start changing and going in a different direction. Same thing with our party. We need to ask people because from growing up in the Democratic Party till today, our party used to be so overwhelming that you couldn't even get into the convention center. It would be so packed. So why is it now that I go now to events with the convention center? Could it be COVID? I don't know, but we need to bring back the spark in people right now to come back to be a Democrat and to maybe it may be to update the platform to reflect the change within
Oh,
our
you want to talk
communities.
about the platform? I'll get to that platform, man, because I definitely I think that platform is too long. It's got too much stuff in it, and I've read through it, and there are some of those statements. I think it needs to be more general. It's so specific, and some of it is absolutely not doable. And I speak from the point of view of Chavez County. We provide 40% of
Yeah.
the state's budget, and yet the statements on energy are so anti oil and gas. Granted, is oil and gas going to be around forever? No, it's not. Nuclear is probably what we're going to end up doing. But I get a little upset when I have the Democratic platform saying no gas and oil ever. And have you replaced that income? And how are you going to replace that income? And how are you just going to devastate the southeastern part of New Mexico and say, oh, well, all those jobs
Exactly.
need to
You
go
can't do that.
away? They can't do that.
No.
And so the platform is not realistic in that vein. I mean, just that's just one area I'm talking about. There are several areas. And then there's too much emphasis on some of the extremist stuff, which may be where we're losing people because they're focused on bread and butter and they're not and paying for your house and paying for your car and not being in debt just because you went to college. Those are things that Congress can fix and
Exactly.
they're not fixing. And so I just, I get really hyperventilated and stuff. So I did have
You know
a
what? I'm
yeah,
I'm
what's
glad
that?
you said all that. I'm
Yeah.
glad you
Oh
said that
well.
because people
Yeah,
need
I
to
get a
hear
little
that.
excited. Well,
That's
and I think
okay.
Mr.
That's
Levine
good.
needs to hear it. And it's my personal view that Mr. Levine is probably needs to take some time off and let somebody else head up the thing because my understanding is that people don't want to rock the boat with him. And Mr. Levine, if you're listening and you watch this, my feeling is that you came down here and you paid lip service to us and then ignored everything that we said from the southeastern part of the state. Not okay with that. So if you're going, I mean, here's my problem, and here's what I'd like to ask Mr. Levine is, are you, in fact, do you believe every single thing in that platform? Because if you do, then it's not a good platform. You shouldn't believe every single thing. You basically, it's the Jay Levine platform. It's not the Democratic Party's platform. So I'm probably going to get lots of kickback for what I just said, but I don't
No,
care.
but I agree with you. It does need to be updated and it does need to have input from
Well, it doesn't
chairs.
need to be
And we do
38
need
pages
to structure
long
it
either.
because that when was that platform
Well,
developed and how long has
it's
it been in
been
place?
under development forever and ever and ever, and they just keep adding.
Yeah,
They don't
but is it
subtract or
yeah, we have to
consolidate or
subtract.
yeah.
It
So
would be like, I'll tell you right now, for me, understanding like the dynamics of how you change stuff like that, in my own company, I had to change even my operation agreement to reflect my husband's service disabled certification. But you have to take out and put new stuff in, and you got to shorten it because, what worked back then ain't working now. And I agree with you with oil and gas. People don't understand. If we got rid of oil and gas today, we would have a global effect because we are the
for sure,
second,
largest
we're
producer.
the
Yeah.
second in the United States that produces the most oil here, 17%. We produce so many gallons, and that would cripple even our state. And people
It would
don't
cripple the
understand that
state, but it
if
would
we want to go
also,
into renewable,
that's right.
the whole
And we
the
we
whole
provide a valuable
global.
service. Do I think that people need to change how they use oil and gas in a lot of ways? But it's
Yes,
not just
we
oil
do,
and
we
gas for
do.
cars. It's these like those data centers. They're massive data centers that Donald Trump wants to build, and they require vast amounts of energy in order to be able to cool them down because the worrying of all of the AI and the big huge servers and all that takes a huge amount of energy. People don't get
And
that.
water
Anyway,
too. Some of these plants take
oh,
water.
I
But
know.
it like
Well, I
I was looking at, okay, let me just explain one thing before you go on. Okay, so
uh-huh.
if we want to start going into green energy, we need to start today and we need to have a plan that's it's gonna take at least 40 years to get to that point because right now it's like we don't have the structured base for renewable energy, so we got to start training our workers to understand that down the road this is going to take place. So it's like, there is a there it could be done, but it's not going to be today and it won't be tomorrow. And so for me, I think we do need to change our platform to see how we can protect you guys on the eastern part of our state
Well,
and
and
up
not
in
only, and
Farmington
we
because
do do
they
some
produce a lot of natural
solars.
gas.
Right, but we also have solar farms, and between here and Vaughan, there are some wind farms, and I think we're making strides in those efforts
Yes.
to do
And we need to
renewables.
bring those in our city too. We need to bring this
Mm-hmm.
in our city because
Mm-hmm.
Alamogordo, they have a solar farm and they're using the sources that they're using there is at the dump area because of like you can't build anything because of the gases, but they do have a
Oh.
structure of they're putting them on the landfill. So my thing is I'd like to understand more of that because, you know, at least somebody's doing something with and Albuquerque just started a new program too, and the program that they started there is really awesome too with a big solar farm. So if we could no the solar panels, if we could start doing that and pushing for our platform to be pushing to go that direction, working with our
Uh-huh.
legislators and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to see one day that we're not going to be dependent on oil and gas as much.
Well,
We'll probably still
I
need
do
it, but
want to
not as
give
much.
credit where credit is due. And Mr. Mark Murphy, who just took over the 59th legislative seat district, he had said during his interview and get an eventual appointment through the county commissioners, because the person that got elected retired or resigned for a medical reason. And so what Mr. Murphy said while he was talking to the county commissioners here in Chaves County was that they actually, in his company, is actually looking at, instead of using fresh water, they would reuse the brackish
Brackish
water.
water.
Right. And then I think that's those are little
To
steps,
do,
baby steps are important
yeah.
in terms of figuring out how to be able to do things that are not so destructive to the planet. So we got to
Yeah.
move on. We got to
And
move
then,
on.
but you know what? But when you talk about, hold on, when you talk about brackish water, under Alamogordo, there's a big lake of brackish water.
Is
And
there?
so the thing
Okay.
is that they just, I mean, they have the technology to desalinatize it so they can bring fresh water. And I know that they want to do it for fracking. And I know fracking is another issue, but I don't want to get involved in that one because
Well,
that's,
that's what I was
different.
saying was that Mr. Marsh Murphy is saying that you reusing brackish water to frack instead of fresh water
Yeah, to
would
frack.
actually work just
Yeah.
as well as fresh water.
But then what are they going to do with that water afterwards? But
I
that's
don't know.
another story. We
Well,
won't
they
get into
pump it back into the ground, is from my understanding, is they pump it back into the ground. But I want to move on to it was kind of a follow-up
Okay.
question to being the chair. Can you tell me what the organization's mandate is?
Oh, the organization mandate. Okay, so if you look at the mandate, it's
Okay.
just let me okay, so people really know what the mandate is. It's hold on, I it's actually okay, the chair is the political organizer planning a virtual leadership role with responsibilities that strategy where you have strategies to plan, you have organization management, you have public responsibility, you have to mobilize efforts. So pretty much it's the responsibility of promoting Democrats to come back into our party.
Yes, and electing Democrats,
Yeah,
getting
electing
Democrats
Democrats.
elected in the state and the
Yeah,
nation, and
elected.
and I am happy that we are even if we're a 50-50 purple state, we still have all of our congressional delegation is Democrat,
Yeah.
and we have control of the House and the Senate here in the state, and our governor is, and our attorney general, and our auditor, and our treasurer. They're all Democrats, and I think that's we do get more things
Yes,
done because of
and
that.
that
So
and that's the whole job is to build the local party infrastructure, to advocate for policies and to develop leadership, which means what you just said is like the roles of
mm-hmm.
keeping our Democrats in office and promoting new Democrats once one's leaving and helping them to get to where the point that they're ready to lead us, and expanding registration so that registration of
Yeah,
getting more voters
absolutely.
in every county. That's a
Mhm.
big one right there. And then community and to supporting our democratic values. And that
And
was
I
like
think
our
you kind of
platform we were just
so
talking
so
about.
that kind of leads into the next question, which was, do you understand what do you understand the responsibilities of the chair are for your political organization? And I think you've kind of touched on a lot of that already.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's the strategies and it's the
right.
organization and it's
Mm-hmm.
the candidate building and fundraising
Mm-hmm.
and all the good stuff that
Mm-hmm.
come. So yeah, we've been talking about it, and it's just, you know what, I see our party as, if you want to do it as a large corporation. So you have your board
Mm-hmm.
of directors, and that's us. Then
Mm-hmm.
you have your administrative, which would be the Democratic staff, and then it would be the counties. And so now it's like, how are we going to take care of those counties? So the only thing that I could say that I would do is when I go into office, I will do an audit to find out exactly what's happening, what money we have, and how we can be inclusive with all counties and helping them to make sure that they do have the resources. So when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to an election, they're not like with no money. And then some counties are richer and some don't have the resources. That we need to take care of all our counties and making sure that they have everything they need in order to be successful and to make their counties become
Do you
blue
think
again.
the Democratic Party of New Mexico should help fund all the counties? Because
I
I
think we
personally
should.
I have a
I
balance in
think
my county. So
I think
so
we should
then
start off. Go ahead.
even well, I mean, but it wouldn't be logical to have like Bernalillo County have the same balance as I mean, because they have so many more precincts and wards, and they have so many more candidates I can't even get a
Yes.
candidate in Chaves County to run as a Democrat. So, I mean, I have asked and asked and asked, and we're going to be strategizing and doing some things here. You asked when my next meeting is. It's the 12th of February at
Yes.
6 p.m. And I
Okay.
have a young lady who has stepped up, and she is going to give us some. We're going to start workshopping how to be more proactive within the community. And in terms of understanding and having conversations with people that have oppositional views than we do, but starting with the Democratic Party and saying, how do we formulate and continue our values in this difficult time that we're in? Um, anyway,
And that's good to know because I would like to
mhm.
attend because I'd like
You're
to talk
certainly
to her
welcome to
because
come.
okay, so for example, for me owning a company and being the chief operation officers, what I
Hmm.
do in my company, if somebody has an idea, I
Uh-huh.
bring it into reality, but I always give them credit because it was
Hmm.
their idea. And like I'd like to talk to her because if she already has a set plan, let's see what she has. And
Well, we're going
if
to go
it's
from there. We're going to do a
for
little
all of
brief
us.
thing at our meeting and do like a little portion, and then we're going to ask people to sign up for a workshop on the 15th, say like a 3-hour workshop to like review and go through some stuff. And I'm
Okay,
thrilled to death that she has stepped up to do those things.
that
Um,
is so awesome.
thanks, but let's get back to you. This is
But
about you.
what time is your meeting
We
going to
do
be on
6 o'clock
the 12th?
at the Stellar
Okay,
Coffee. And
okay.
on the I think I
I
said
know
the
where
12th.
that's
That's
at.
a
I know.
Wednesday night, right?
Okay.
Um, all right. Tell me the types of duties that you anticipate you're going to be involved with, and have you had a conversation with Jessica, who is in this person, to inform you what the obligations and responsibilities will look like?
Well, I think we talked about all that already. Is like you know that I'm going to be
Mhm.
a very firm leader and I'm going to make the changes that we need to make. And we are going to update the platform because it does need to be updated. And I agree with you, it
Mhm.
should be shortened, but we should take the advice of the county, the county chairs to be a part of it. And we need to sit down together. We're not on a Zoom. We need to come together. And even if it's regional meetings, but I think we need to
Hmm.
talk about it and hash it out because, you know, I know Zoom is good, but in person we could see how people get frustrated because you can turn off your screen and just like yell and get all mad. I
I
want to
generally
feel
have to go
that.
to the
I want to see
restroom. I turn my volume up, and I generally am stepping away because there's a need.
that.
Anyway,
And you know what?
sorry.
But I want to hear all that because in order to fix the problems, we have to
Uh-huh.
hear the problem. And everybody has a problem. And if we don't start now, then we may not be
Mhm.
a party in the future because your county has different issues versus my county versus any other county. Everybody's so unique in how their county runs. So we have to go in there and we have to change for you, not for
Mhm.
us. We have to change for the chairs. So we have to
Mhm.
come in and we have to know that we have to organize and we have to have a plan for every single county. But we can't do it that I can say my plan works for you. You got to tell me what your plan, what you want in your plan and how we're going to implement it. So I have to go to
Mhm.
you. So
Mhm.
that's what's going to make me different is I'm going to you and I'm going to ask you and I'm going to help you help me because I can't do it on my own. We need a
Right.
team and my team would be all 33 county chairs. And we're going to make sure that every county has a chair. Even if I have to go in there and beg them.
Well, good luck with Jabaka because they barely have I don't think they even have a party right now. But
Yeah,
I mean, I know there's a couple of orphan counties, but well, I know we've helped out where we could by mailing
there's six
postcards
there's
or
there's there's six
paying for
counties
them
that don't
to.
have a yeah, and
But
I
Cheves
don't like
County
paying
has
more for
actually paid to have the telephone calls made to them and actually sent postcards to them because they don't have that. And so I mean, occasionally we do those things just so that they know the people that are registered as Democrats in Tobacco County, that they know that they have people that are there.
and that's good.
I did want
I
to
mean,
ask
if
you
some
about
of the counties
fundraising.
have to take on, okay,
Sorry.
go
I
ahead.
did want to ask you about the fundraising aspect. Tell me about, do you have some ideas already, or have you, did you get to talk to Jessica about any of this yet, or not yet?
Jessica's never talked to me, so
What do you mean?
she's never
Oh,
reached out to me or said, hi, Letitia, congratulations. I'm so proud that but it's just like, so for me, I thought, well, maybe she's busy and, and I don't bug her because I know she has her own life as well besides the party. But the thing is that that's the one thing that I want to really stress is that the communication and also with the fundraising, you know, just from, they have, it's not going to be a problem for me to fundraise because I've done it before. I know that they'll have a list of me reaching out to the contacts to raise the funds, to ask for donations. But also I would like to do events where a lot of people, like the legislative dinner was $500 per plate. I'm sorry, I'm a Democrat. And if I have $500, it's going to go to pay a bill, not to go eat a dinner for one night. And I think we need to come back to reality and we need to come up with what do we really want to charge our Democrats to come to events? Because the more we charge them, the less they're going to come because they don't have the resources. With our economy, the way it's going now, and it's going to get worse, that it's going to be probably a little harder to ask our fellow Democrats, but we can ask Democrats that do have the funds are willing to donate large amounts of money that they can donate to our party. But the thing is, we have to sit down and we have to restructure that as well because we're we're not tapping into all the Democrats anymore. We're turning to the haves and the have-nots. So, and when you're a have-not like me, you got to think about the resources that you have and do I really want to pay that much money? I could see $100, but not 500 or a table of 10,000. I can't afford 10,000. I don't think you can you?
Well,
And it's if
absolutely
I could,
not.
I would,
But
you know what I would do if I could give someone $10,000 at an event, what I would do is I would buy the table and I would give it away so that it would allow
hmm,
other people that would not be able to be a part of this event that they have an option to go still. And then
mhm.
two, the sad thing about it is that to come to Santa Fe, if you're gonna come from where, let's say Lee County, at the very tip of the eastern portion of our state, they have to spend the night. They can go back due to if there's weather conditions or whatever. And it's not cheap to stay in Santa Fe.
Oh
It's
no,
not.
it's not.
Not
It's
even for me
not.
to live in Santa Fe much. It's like
Yeah,
so. Yeah, we got to
yeah.
think about that one. And
Okay.
fundraising, it's okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just wondered if you had some other ideas about it and stuff. But I mean, everybody has their own point of view on how you should be doing things, and I think that's the beauty of being a
Yeah.
Democrat is,
And I think what we need to do is we need to target sponsors that can donate the money so that we get the resources more in that capacity. And then we allow to have events where it's affordable or free events. Because when I was a young Dem and it seemed like we had more like free stuff. But then if you think about it,
Oh
who was the
yeah,
chair at
like
that
the
time?
tchotchkes and all those things and stuff. I will tell
Yeah.
you I did right after the convention and Michelle Obama's speech, I went and spent
Oh,
some
she was
money.
dynamic.
Yeah, and so I took away from that and I went and I got those long, like, like grocery list pads and stuff, like 25
Yeah.
sheets of paper on each, and I got them printed to say do something and then our address on the bottom. They just went really well when we had our little office for the campaign. People liked those, so that was
That's
fun.
cool. See,
Yeah,
and
it was
that's
fun.
stuff that we need to know what you did that motivated
Mm-hmm.
people in your county. Because if that motivated people in your county, it's going to motivate people in all the other counties. And we
Sure.
really need to focus on our rural areas. I hate to, I tell everybody when I was looking at the numbers, and I'm a number person because I have a math degree. And when I was looking at the numbers, I was telling my husband, I was like, oh my God. I said, I know how he's going to win if he's going to win. And he goes, what? What do you mean? I said, I've been analyzing the numbers. I said, he's going after the rural areas because if he gets a portion of the metropolitan cities, that's all he cares about. That's it.
Hmm.
Because if you
Oh,
notice, it was like he wasn't afraid. And the thing is,
okay.
and I saw it in my own state, is the rural areas where the target base
Listen,
is
Donald
because
Trump doesn't care about people. He doesn't
I
care
know
about
he doesn't,
anyone,
but
right?
he
And
had a messaging strategy
he even
and he did
said,
it.
we don't have to have election. I only need your vote this last time, and then we don't need another vote. So he's got
Oh,
some plans.
and that's
Although
well,
the beauty of their organization is that they're not very organized and they can't handle doing stuff. And they come out with
well,
broad sweeping illegalities and then they have to backtrack them. So they've had to backtrack for the
exactly.
last 3 days. But
Exactly. But the thing is, what he wants to do, if you think about it, what do you
mhm,
think his whole plan is? He's already told everybody he wants to be a dictator. So if he
yeah.
gets us in a emotion and starts taking things away from us, what do you think we're going to do? We're going to start fighting amongst each other because we're not going to make it anymore. And then
Well,
he's going to come in there with martial law and put a, because he's like, you guys are out of control. He has a plan. He has a plan, and we need to offset that plan. So our plan is to have a
yeah.
messaging. Every message that comes out has to be a
Mhm.
positive one, and we have to go after the people that left our party to bring them back in with the messaging explaining, okay, if this goes away, this is going to affect you this way. And in reality,
Well,
we may
if we
have
could
more
figure
homeless
out
people
where
than
they're
president.
listening to people, like are they on podcasts or are they on, what is it? Where are they getting their information? Because they don't watch TV and they don't read the newspaper, which are the traditional
No.
old. I mean, newspapers are almost gone, which is very
Well, you
scary and
know,
unfortunate. So,
well, you
sorry,
know
go ahead.
what, you know what they're saying is that everything on the newspaper and the media is false news. So they're like
Oh,
the new set of people, kids, are doing research and and you are right. Podcasting is really like that. What there's a man they were talking about. He's a podcaster, and he was like so pro man that a lot of the men were listening to him, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter what age they were. It didn't matter
mm,
what color they were. It didn't matter
yeah,
what religion they were, and it didn't matter what
yeah.
sex preference they were. They were
You know,
listening to him
we
and they were
do need the
believing.
FCC to, and Congress needs to make a law. This is my opinion only, that Congress needs to actually set out controls like they did when cable news came out and when the FCC used to issue broadcast licenses to television and radio, but now the internet absolutely needs to. I mean, they do it in Europe. In Europe, you cannot, and then in Finland, they actually teach a class on how to identify false news, false AI pictures and other things of that nature. And they actually teach these young people to think critically. The problem I see is that our education system has been overwhelmed by extremists. So I'm going to move on though. We got to keep going,
Okay,
or you'll be here forever.
you can invite me
Um,
back again if you want.
okay, well, I'll do part two, right?
Part two of
Okay,
it.
tell me. Oh gosh, we kind of touched on it a lot, but I want to hear from you what you think DPNM's biggest concern is now. What is the
Communication.
okay?
It's communication. We need to start communicating with everybody. I mean, everybody's important to building this whole restructure of our party. And like for me, if I get elected as chair, I can't do it on my own. I need everybody to come to be a part of it and to communicate what they feel needs to be done in each of their counties because they're the experts of the county. So it's all about communication. It's about messaging. We have to have a message. We really do. And we need the resources for each of these counties that don't have the funding. And I'm telling you, the rural areas. And so, not all the rural areas, because I could tell you that San Juan, even though they had the last 2 years were tough for them, I was very proud of them because they have two divisions, but they all got the job done. But the thing is that I go to other counties and there's like either nobody there or they don't have any funding or they need help. We need to help. We need to start helping our rural areas, point blank. Our metropolitan cities are going to be fine. They're
Mhm.
fine because in all reality, they take care of themselves and they have the resources to raise the money because they have large, dense people there. All the people live in Santa
Well, and I
Fe,
think there's, the number of
Albuquerque.
people have done a good job in the larger
Yeah, I agree.
city areas that they've had chairs that are very capable and
But you
have
know what? It's not about the chairs, it's about the people that work for the chairs because the
right. Hmm.
volunteers in Santa Fe County, I'll tell you that we should have used our volunteers to help all the other portions of the county because we had 5,000 volunteers because I worked on the database. So
Are
I
you
saw it. We
serious?
had 5,000 people.
They were
Yes, and we
active
should have spread
volunteers.
the
I'm
love
so
around.
jealous. Can I have a
We should
hundred?
have spread the love. We should have said, you know what? Why don't you help us out with Chaves
Travis
County? Why
County,
don't you
right?
help us
Yeah,
out
yeah.
with yeah,
Well,
why
I,
don't you the counties that
yeah,
don't have chairs and
I
help
like that
promote like
idea.
doing
That sounds
calling?
exciting.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
5,000 volunteers, did they use them
that's
all? I don't
amazing.
know because they didn't give a statistical outline of who actually did. But 5,000 volunteers is a
I
lot of people.
I had a friend that I grew up. I'm from Connecticut originally, and I grew up with this lady. I'm in she lives still in the same house up the street from where we grew up, and she was telling me for the last 6 weeks of the cycle, she took a bus every weekend to Pennsylvania and walked doors in some of those cities. And I was like, and
Mhm.
so in awe of her. I mean, how amazing is that? That was a really cool thing that she did. So, um,
You know what?
but yeah, it's
That's
the
really
same principle
great thing to
of,
hear that. Yeah.
yeah, I was really, yeah, but she was on a bus. I mean, they like shipped them out because they already knew that Connecticut was going to vote a certain way. And so Pennsylvania being a swing state, they could get there easily. All right, number 7. Not that I've counted any before, but what makes you the right choice for this position?
Because I care and I see the problems and I know the problems of that, you don't learn something overnight. It takes
Okay.
time to get to where you're at and you see it. And you know what? I could sit back in the sideline and say, nah, just let him destroy himself. But my answer is no, no, no. I want to help because I feel that we need a strong leader. And I'm not saying that Jessica wasn't a strong leader. She is. But my goal is to lead us into a new direction to where we rebuild and we understand that we need to make changes like the platform. We need to make
Mhm.
changes within the executive, the people that, like work for the party and to find out what are you guys doing? Because like when I first started at CD3 vice chair, I asked for a job title, my title, and they were like, what are my responsibilities are? And they're like, well, whatever you want to do, because no one's ever asked me. I'm like, what? And now they do have something now because I questioned, because in my
Great. So
experience,
you affected
I
change. You affected that change for them.
yeah, yeah, change is good, you know,
Uh-huh.
and we gotta remember that times have changed, people will change. Now we have to change to that philosophy. And how do we reach out to the certain categories of people? What do the young people watch and look at? TikTok. What are this generation, like the middle class, I know the middle age people, LinkedIn, Facebook, Meta, what are like the older people? We still have people who like to get mail, and we can never change that. So we have to look, we have to move the way the time's moving, and we have to address and hit each category of people in different ways. And that's just a fact. We have to. And that's the thing is like, and because you see the platform.
Oh, well,
And
yeah.
it
But I
and
also
it
see
says
the
to
rules
represent
committee and
everybody
the
in the
resolutions
rules
that,
committee, yes, and the
yeah, those
resolutions and
things.
everything. Yeah.
Well, and the rules committee, I think that the people that work for the party that get paid on a, regular basis, I think they're very much tied into what they are legally and not legally allowed to do. So I think sometimes we don't always know the reason they're doing something some way and why they do it in a certain way. I mean, I've had some knockdown drag out fights with a couple of them, and it's only because of my ignorance that I didn't understand why I have to do something a certain way. And then when I see it in writing and say, well, this is the way it's supposed to be, and this is what your county's rules say, then I understand that I was the one that was being a little bit resistant to change myself. Sometimes I'm a little bare about that myself, um, but I do feel like
But you know,
go ahead.
but you know what? When you were talking about that is like, but the thing that I see also is like within the roles, I know that they send us these big old long documents with like attorney stuff on there. They need to send it out in terms that people can understand it. And because sometimes you don't understand a word and it can
Mm,
make the paragraph mean something differently. So I think we
okay.
need to address on more bringing it back to like logic, like somebody that reads this, oh yeah, now I understand it because it's not written as an attorney. Because there's some stuff I get and I look at it and I have to go do some research because I don't understand some of the words. And that's just me because I'm not an attorney. So we need to, you know, come down to the basic level of all of us. It's like,
I think that the
tell me what
general
you need
rule
to
is
tell
an
me.
eighth grade level
Yeah,
of writing. You have to write on an eighth grade level. Yeah,
yeah. And
is
that's
the
okay.
accepted format to do that. But there are many Americans. They say about half of Americans only read on a fifth grade level. Did
And
you
that's
know that?
okay. Then we bring it down to
Well,
a
it's not
level where
okay because then
everybody
they don't know what they're
understands it.
looking at or reading or voting on,
Well,
and they
I know, but
voted. I mean,
well, you give them,
we.
what you do is you give them examples. You give
Oh,
them an
okay.
example. If you vote this way, this is
Mhm.
the turnout. If you vote this way, if you vote for it, this is what's going to happen. You vote against it, this is what's going to happen. So you show them an example of the pro
I
and
wish I
then
wish it
the
were that simple because all these young people voted against their own interests and they're going to pay for it now because of,
yeah.
who we've got in
But
office. It's
but
so
but if you think
disappointing.
about it, this is a
Mhm.
time to hit because they're going to start hitting them in areas that they're not going to like. So if we have a good message, we may bring those young ones back to us to
Hope
be a part
so.
of the Democratic
I
Party.
truly
So
hope so.
now is the time to do it.
To reach out.
We have an open window to start rebuilding ourselves because now we could get the people that get mad at him come back to our side. Or like
Okay.
now they're doing the partial open election, which is going to be good because even if they don't want to come back and they're independent or they don't declare a party status, they can still vote in the primary. And so that's what they're doing right now for the
They're trying to
legislation
get that
is
passed.
yeah, Linda Trujillo, because I talked to her about an open
Uh-huh.
primary, and she told me, she goes, "What do you think about a partial primary opening?" And it would be letting the people that can't vote. And I was like, "That's cool." I said, "That would work." I said, because then it allows everybody to vote at that one level, and hopefully those independent and the people don't declare that they'll vote for a Democrat.
Well, and I was going to ask you, let me just clarify and make sure I'm right and understand this. An open primary is where you can just go in and everybody's on one ticket. But
Yes.
a partial primary means that if I'm a declined to state or an independent, I can go to a primary and I can say I would like the Republican ticket or the Democratic ticket, one or the other,
Yeah,
right?
you
Is
just,
that okay? All right.
yeah.
So, but they have to declare a party and say, I want to vote for, this slate, but they can't
Yes.
come back in and say, okay, now I want to vote for the other slate. They can only vote for
No,
one.
you get to vote
Okay.
for whoever you choose to. Yeah.
But
And
in
more
that
than likely
party,
they're gonna have a ballot probably specifically made for like people that are independent, which will probably be different than the Democrat and the Republican one. It probably
okay, well
but we won't
that
know
doesn't
until
okay, so if
well,
it's
I see
if it's
that's
a
the thing is I don't know the
semi-open,
whole structure.
okay. Okay, well what I'm understanding is semi-open means that they get to come in and vote, but they have to
Yes,
say whether they want Republican or Democrat.
yes,
They don't
yes,
get
yes.
all of them because an open
No,
primary
no,
would
no,
be
no. They get either or.
everybody. Right. And where you
But we won't know until we won't know until after this session of what they're going to vote on and to see what amendments they do to it and see
I
how it
see.
comes
I
out. So
see.
at the end of the
Okay.
session, and then it has to be approved by Michelle Lujan Grisham. So, I mean,
Mm.
we'll hope to see if whatever they come out with and it does make it through that
Hmm.
we'll know the whole dynamics of how the voting structure is going to be. So right now we're just like in limbo. But
Oh,
pretty much
okay.
what you're saying, what's happening right now is you choose a
That
Democrat or Republican. And
that's
that's what
kind
they
of
do
how
in
I
other
understood
states.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, they do that in other states because there is quite a bit of other states that have like I think like 9 or 10 other states that have it, the
Okay.
open primary,
Good.
partial.
Good.
open, partial.
Well, and I like the ranked choice voting because I've read a lot about Alaska and how that happened, and we ended up getting a Democratic representative out of there. They only have one, so because of ranked choice voting, we ended up getting a seat. So that was kind of an interesting thing. And of course, I'm an
You know,
advocate. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
right? No, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was
Go
going to say
ahead.
I'm an
Finish.
advocate that it doesn't seem right that the people that are in the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico and the Mariana Islands that they're not allowed to vote. They should be voting. They should have the right to vote because they're citizens. If they step foot on the mainland or whatever, then they're citizens. They're still citizens, and but they live in a territory. And so, even while they have a representative in Congress, like from the Virgin Islands, there's this wonderful woman, and I can't think of her name is, but she doesn't get a vote. She gets to go and talk and have all the rights and responsibilities, but she can't vote on stuff, and that's not right. I think that we ought to be able to have those people that can vote. Oh, and Washington D.C. too, to be their own center of whatever. But we know how that's going to go. I got to move on because I'm running out of time here.
Okay.
Um, do what do you see as the biggest obstacle for us maintaining or getting past the American First MAGA agenda? Or have we already beaten that to death?
I
Okay,
think, yeah, we've beat it to death.
okay.
And it's happening right now in front of us. So it's like,
Oh
it's
my
just a lot
gosh.
of this, like, yeah,
I
it's
read
like happening.
something I read something the other day that said, don't get bogged down in all the details. Pick Each one of us should pick one or two issues that we care about and follow those issues only. And we cannot be overwhelmed by all of it. And so I was going to maybe try and assign areas for people to be interested in per their preference, and then come back during our meetings and talk about what's happened, what things, what's misinformation, what's not, and give us information about those areas like immigration on one level, the FDIC on another level, just a various amount of stuff, because it's the whole plan is to overwhelm us so that we all become despondent and become inactive and stay home and don't
Yes,
do anything.
I
And
agree
that's
with you. Yes,
yeah.
I
So
agree with you 100%. That is a good strategy.
yeah, I
That's a
think
good
it was
strategy.
Heather Cox Richardson. I don't know if you follow her on Facebook. She's a historian. It might have been her, but it might have been Rachel. I don't know. Rachel Maddow. All right.
No, but that's a good plan because
Yeah, it is a good strategy.
that's what I when our in our CD3 vice when we have our conversations, I've told our group, you belong to certain groups and you should go into other groups so you hear what's going on and then you bring it back
Sure.
and then
Hmm.
we'll find out because people start talking and we build a trust with people within our community, no matter if they're Republicans, independents, whoever they are people. And
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
I think what you just said is a good plan.
Well, and
Good
I
job.
wish I could give the proper credit to whoever it was that told me that, because I thought, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And then that way none of us are being overwhelmed by all of it, and we can continue to push forward and be active and share those things as
Exactly.
needed. Hmm.
Exactly. Because if it's
Okay.
affecting your community, it could be affecting another community. But like when I was in Clovis, the problem was happening is with the where they have the milking of the what is it, the
The dairy
dairies.
cows. Hmm.
Dairies, yeah, what the dairy farmers are doing to that community, and it's the water, and it's just like, how do we impact in promoting, getting a message out? So it's like, yeah, you're exactly right. You just hit it right on the,
The
hit
dairy
it right on.
industry has a habit of moving about every 20 to 30 years from one
Oh yeah,
from one location to
yep.
another. And what they do is they say, "Oh, let us come in and use your land and give us
And your
these
water.
dispensations," right? And what the
Oh yeah.
dispensation is that the cows, the amount of urine that they don't do the cover up of the land, so they saturate the water, which in this case is going down into our aquifers,
Oh
and
yeah.
they destroy it. And so after a 30-year period, they all pick up and move to another location, and we're about at that level, 20
Oh
years
yeah.
in,
And they
and
know
our
because
land is destroyed, and they know that.
yeah, they
And
do.
our local government gave them that permission. They were like, well, we won't move there if you don't let us do that. And that's
Yeah.
the kind of business decisions that communities need to stop allowing to have happen,
Yes.
is
And
you're
that's like in
destroying our
that's what
planet.
that's that's in the eastern part of your state right there. When I was,
Huge. We
that's how I
have
found
dairies
out
in
is when I was
Roswell,
in
lots of
Clovis.
dairies.
When I was in Clovis, yeah, and it was like they were telling me exactly Clovis, Roosevelt,
Well, I
County. So
don't
it's
understand
Prairie,
why
that
people
area.
aren't angry with the employers for hiring illegals. They get mad at the illegals for being here, but here's what's going to happen. They're going to round up people, whether it's a dairy or a farm or agriculture in California or,
I'm busy, guys.
slaughterhouses. And what's going to happen is, oh, sorry. Okay. Oh, is it your
Oh, sorry
puppy?
about that.
No, that's fine.
No, my
Um,
husband. I used to,
oh, okay. And so then what's going to happen is, they're going to round up people that do the hard work that American citizens refuse to do and don't want to do, and they're going to send them away. And then those businesses are
but
either
you
going to
have
go
to name.
belly up, and you wait and see what happens. Is what's going to happen to me in my mind is when a company is in danger, some rich equity of firm or whatever is going to come in, swoop in and buy it for pennies on the dollar, and and then they're going to own even more stuff and have more monopolies and control more of our money. And that to me is a problem, when in fact what we should be doing is allowing these people to hire people to come over here from any country they want to do the jobs that people don't want to do. And Congress has been delinquent in creating immigration laws that allow us to have those immigrants. But I just think it's funny that nobody ever gets mad at the employers for turning in, I mean, these people pay into Social Security and never draw a dollar of Social Security because they're using a false number. Anyway, last question, and this is all about you. What do you
Okay.
want people who will be voting for you to know about your commitment, knowledge, and focus? So this is your chance to bring it home and sell yourself and let us know. Okay.
Okay. So first of all, I am a native from Santa Fe. My Montoya roots go back 17 generations to Okewinge, and my nationality is very diverse, where I'm not 50% of anything. I'm Hispanic, Native American, and Caucasian,
Okay.
and I have Black, and I have my Native American, I have Asian in me still. And like my husband did
Wow.
his DNA test and he didn't. So it was like, so I have roots all the way back into China. So, but the thing is
Wow.
that, yeah, isn't that, it was
That's
like, yeah. So
amazing. That's really interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so I was amazed myself too. So,
Uh-huh.
and then I have Jewish in me and all kinds of stuff. But the thing is, like, I was born here on the soils of Santa Fe, and I grew up with a working class family. My dad's a veteran. He was a blue collar worker. He became and worked his way to be a project engineer. So we got to see a lot of the world. He was the one that helped design the road going up to Carlsbad Cavern. So I was up
Oh,
there when
okay.
I was a little girl in my mom's belly.
That's
So
that's a fun road. I like that road. That's a great
yeah,
road.
so
Yeah.
my dad helped design it. But the thing is that for me, let me explain to another factor is that my education component is that I grew up with dyslexia. So growing up for me was a challenge because I was really a brilliant person in math, but when it came to the writing and the reading ability was really like my weakness. But I used my math to help me overcome the fear of life in general. So I went on to
Sure.
college. So I
Mhm.
have a degree in math. I did an
I'm
intern.
impressed. That's
Well, it was the only
impressive
thing I
because,
was good at the time. And then
oh,
I
okay.
then I decided that I wanted to go to medical school. So I did an intern in Mexico, and what I had to do is I had to donate my time to a clinic, and I saw the medicine, I saw the what was going on over there, and came back and I was like, oh my God, I was like, there's a lot going on over there. For me, it was fear to see that happen in our own state, in our own country. And now I'm seeing it, but the whole thing is that I was still going to go to medical school. So I went and I started getting a second degree in biology, and I was working on my master's in education. So I had a choice of either education or business. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to go with education because that's the harder degree to get because it's going to make me do things that I don't like to do. And so I
Mm.
accomplished it. I graduated, and then I had chose that I was going to go in a different direction. So, I mean, I've had some really great jobs. I was an engineer when I got out of college. So in my engineering capacity, it's like I had to analyze the hardness of planes and the cables and all that stuff. So we'd have to make sure that if we had a nuclear war, could our planes take off? Which that was my job, and I did it. And so yeah, our planes are totally safe now. But the thing then but then when I like I'll go back to the aspects of what I saw in Mexico, and I saw people living in cardboard houses. I was like, you know what? I think my I got to go in a different direction because one day it could happen to us. It really could. And I could be out there homeless. So that was my journey. So as I got involved in politics, my husband was a financial advisor, stockbroker. So he worked for Fortune High 5 companies.
Companies, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and we
Mhm.
decided, you know what? Why don't we just start our own company? We started our own company. We had it for
Oh,
30 years. And I was the chief operation officer, but I was actually the main developer of the company. And
uh-huh.
then I oversaw the compliance because I was the compliance officer because you have to deal with state and federal guidelines because you did audits all the time. It wasn't like a
Okay.
one-time scenario. You were always audited. So then
Okay.
what happened is that COVID came about. No, we sold our company. We retired well, and we never thought, our retirement was supposed to be like, like you think great. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to travel all this. Well, my husband
Hmm.
got sick on me, so he almost died on me. And the
Oh
thing
no.
that made me stand is that you can have your nest egg and it can be gone so
Yes.
fast. And that's what happened because he got so sick that I didn't realize that we could have tapped into veterans for veteran funding and getting his disability through them. So we depleted our whole retirement. And I point blank, were homeless. And I'm still fighting to keep my
Oh.
house after years. And but
Hmm.
the thing that gets me is that all that I've learned, all of that I experienced, and all that I want to do is that I want to help people. I'm tired of us not helping. I'm tired of the lip service. I'm tired of people saying, "No, I'm going to do this for you," and they never do it.
Hmm.
We need a party that we're going to stand up for what we believe in and we're going to fight for what we believe in. And that's what's going to bring me to the party to being the next chair is that I'm going to fight for what we stand for. I'm going to
Okay.
help the counties get their plan in place. And if they need funding, then we'll so do it. We'll get the funding. But I think it's time to us reorganize that we all are in it together. And we got to remember that with Kamala, even though she didn't win, we have to keep her plan in place. And we're not going back. We're going to go forward and we're going to fight for what we believe in. And we're going to fight for the Democratic Party. And we're going to fight and we're going to restructure our state. Our state is not going to turn red. So we're going to get out of that purple and we're going to turn blue again. And it's going to take, it's not going to take today. It may not take tomorrow. It's going to take a vision of moving forward. And as I get elected, I'm not going to make this a full-time job. I want to come in, restructure, because that's one of my components. I can restructure companies, so I know I can
Hmm.
restructure the Democratic Party. But the thing is that I need the help of everybody, and I need everybody to tell me the problems. Don't tell me all the good stuff, because I don't want to hear that. I want to hear the
Hmm.
problems that are happening in your counties, and I want to go in there and I want to help you. I really do.
Hmm.
My heart and my soul, and I have nowhere to go. This is my state.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't go nowhere. So I want to make sure that we can all live here in harmony. We can all, you know, work on all the issues that we have within our own state and refocusing on who's important to us. It's the people. It's the working class
Hmm.
people. It's the people
Right.
that are struggling day to day to pay their electric bill, to go to the grocery store now, to put gas in their car.
Well,
We
and
need
I
to
like to point
focus
out
on
that people that are rich, even if they pay more taxes, they're still going to be rich. Whereas those of us who are poor and are struggling to go to the grocery store are, we're, I mean, one medical emergency wipes you out.
Oh
That's
yeah,
not, that's not,
yeah,
it should be universal health care and it shouldn't be tied to your employer. It should just
exactly.
be, it should just be there. And, I didn't think I was a Bernie Sanders Democrat, but I really think I am now. And so, and I like that he speaks his mind too. So
And
I
our
really
children,
like what
and you
you're
know what?
saying.
Our children
Hmm.
should have the opportunity to go to school for free.
Oh,
What,
I like
you
that
know,
too. Yeah.
I'll tell you, yeah, I had a debt of my student loans. I just paid it off like maybe 15 years ago. I mean, it's like it takes people don't,
It
a lot of
shouldn't take
people
that
like,
long. Right.
it doesn't, but if you go up higher in education wise and where you go to school, my just to get my master's degree cost me about $75,000. And then I went in to get another bachelor's degree. So, and then my math degree. So the more education you get, the higher the amount, because you can't qualify for grants anymore. You have to take out loans or you have to have the money to pay for your education. And that should not be. We should be paying that because like even in our state, I had talked to other people that, our state provides free education, but does a lot of our children know about that? There's a lot of people coming from other states to take opportunities here, but it's just
Hmm.
like I think we need to just have a complete rechange, and we need to start educating people, and now it's time to make the change. I'm
Okay.
done listening to people. Now it's time for action. It's time for action and listening to everybody and listening to you because you're a great person.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I
You're
appreciate it.
knowledgeable. You're
Oh, well, I
knowledgeable.
don't
You
know
know
anything
everything.
really. I know less than I think I know. But anyway, I've got to get going, but I really appreciate our time together today, and I want to thank you for taking the time to do this. So what'll happen is I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe and share with all your friends, and make comments if you want. Letitia will be able to see them eventually when I upload it, probably by tonight, because it takes time for the recorder to do its thing. So, and once that happens, I'll email it to you. Okay. So we're going to
Okay.
sign
And then
off
I
and
just want to
say,
say,
go
can I
ahead.
say one last thing? I want to
Yep.
ask everybody to please vote for Letitia Montoya because I promise I will work for you and I'm not going to be lip service. I'm going to make sure that I do what I say. And if I don't, you can get mad at me and you can come back and tell me you did not listen to me. So I'm going to listen. But I
Okay.
thank you so very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's good. Thank you. You're welcome.
Bye.